Part 3A, When This Happened Before. Before this series goes any further, it's worth pausing to show that what we are describing is not new and not partisan. Long before COVID, long before Trump, and long before modern media ecosystems, the same policy pattern played out around tobacco. This matters because it reveals how policy can be shaped without ever being formally decided. The tobacco pattern. For decades, the health risks of smoking were not unknown. Doctors observed higher rates of lung disease. Epidemiologists saw correlations strengthen year after year. Internal industry research, later revealed, often confirmed the danger. Yet public policy stalled. Why? Because the dominant message repeated to the public was not that smoking was safe, but that it was uncertain. More research is needed. The science isn't settled. Correlation isn't causation. None of those statements were outright lies. That's what made them effective. They created just enough doubt to justify inaction. Repetition as delay. This is the critical mechanism. The message didn't need to persuade people that cigarettes were healthy. It only needed to persuade policymakers and the public that acting now would be premature. Each repetition reinforced a sense of responsible restraint. Waiting was framed as prudence, delay was framed as neutrality, action was framed as overreaction. Over time, delay itself became the policy. No single announcement said, "We choose not to regulate," but the repeated framing ensured regulation would always be postponed. The cost of waiting. The human cost accumulated quietly. Smoking-related illnesses rose predictably. Generations adopted a habit already known to be dangerous. The burden fell disproportionately on working-class families, veterans, and rural communities, long before those terms became political shorthand. By the time policy finally caught up, millions of lives had already been affected. No one could point to a single decision that caused the harm. That, too, was part of the design. Why this example matters now. Tobacco shows how repetition substitutes for policy. When uncertainty is repeated often enough, it becomes permission. When delay is normalized, it feels responsible. When action is framed as reckless, inaction feels safe. This is not about cigarettes. It is about a pattern. Setting up the next step. Once you recognize this structure, you start to see it elsewhere, especially in health policy. Not through detailed plans, not through legislation, but through repeated language that signals what will not happen. In the next section, we'll examine how repetition itself functions as a policy signal, and why hearing the same claim again and again is rarely accidental. Next, Part 3B, Repetition as Policy Signal.